also a good friend, very loud and very into politics. I wish to welcome Mr. Zach Little. Thank you for coming on my show tonight, my man. Oh, and he left right as the show starts. Awesome. We love it. We love going into dead air. While we're figuring that out, I want to say good night. Good evening, folks. How's everyone doing tonight? Oh, there he is. There he is, the one, the only Zach
All
Little.
right, sorry
After I
about
gave you
that.
such a good introduction, too.
Yeah, shame I missed it. I right when you said going live, I realized my whole phone is frozen. I looked at it, and the whole thing just crashed. And I can't even find the podcast, but that's fine.
No
As
worries,
long as
my
you can
man.
see
You're
me,
back,
as
and
long
that's
as you
what matters.
as long as you can see me and hear me, that's all that matters. 'Cause I
Oh, we can
can't
see, we
see
can
you.
hear. Thank you for coming on the show. It means a whole lot
Hey,
tonight. You have a lot of topics you want to go into. You have a lot of knowledge on things that I don't. I'm going to let you take the wheel right here, go off. You said you had a quote from President Eisenhower you'd like to share.
yeah. Before I get into that, thanks for having me on. I was supposed to come on last week and couldn't, and I was waiting all week for this. And I'm in my
Awesome,
truck
man.
right now because we're moving into our new house next week, and until then, I have nowhere to do this, and it would drive my girlfriend crazy. So
Your dedication to doing that's great. Thank you so much
yeah,
for getting in your
so
car. Just going to mess with the lighting real quick.
so the quote from Dwight D. Eisenhower, I can't quote it verbatim offhand, but he in his the goodbye address to the nation when he left office, he warned us of the threats imposed by the military-industrial complex due to both sought and unsought influence. And I think that's a really important thing to remember because he was a five-star general and a big military guy, and even he was warning us of the military-industrial complex. And, you know, everyone's aware of the debacle in Afghanistan, how we left $60 billion or tens of billions of dollars of equipment in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I work for the DoD contractor, and we're getting a lot of contracts. And a lot of that, I can't say for certain, but a lot of that is probably replacing equipment that we left in Afghanistan. And
Do you feel as though, as someone who profits off the military industrial complex, I mean, you're a DoD contractor, you're essentially a part of the military industrial complex. Why would you come on and give a quote about the reverence of um, the awareness of it? Like, what would make you come on and say, don't buy into it, even though it's your livelihood at this point?
well, there's a lot more important things than money. And I believe our nation sold its soul to the military industrial complex. I mean, we've been involved in nearly endless wars since the end of World War II. And those wars make a lot of people a lot of money. Not so much people who work in the military supply chain, but the guys at the top. Like how a lot of our past presidents have put former CEOs of defense companies or defense contractors as high-ranking cabinet members.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how like ex-boards of Raytheon have become Secretary of State, or a lot of top generals when they retire, they go into the private sector and they get these really cushy jobs. And I don't think that's a coincidence that they serve their country and then they go into high-paying jobs at defense contractors, or vice versa. They have high-paying jobs at defense contractors. They sign $100 million, tens of millions of dollars severance packages, and then the next thing they know, they're high-ranking members of government signing off on billion-dollar contracts for that same company they used to spearhead.
Absolutely. It's something that's really on the wall. And we talked a little bit about political corruption last week on the political Zoom. We talked about investments through Congress. You can see who they're investing in and insider
That
trading.
that's actually a great investment strategy. Is you watch what Nancy Pelosi
Mhm.
buys, and you buys that. I mean, she almost exclusively buys winners.
Yeah, weird, huh?
I I got to get on it, but
Might as well. So tell me more. Tell me as much as you can about your contract with the DoD and what do you make and what does it require? What does it entail? How many people are with you? Just give me as many details as I can have on the show.
I can't really get too far into it. But I really can't get too much into it. But we have about 150 guys, and we're all automated CNC machines, and that's really as much as I can get into on that. I wish I could talk about
Okay, wow.
more,
So it's
but
definitely a bigger project. Um, do you feel so as someone who works with a lot of the equipment and makes a lot of the vehicles and I don't even know what you make vehicles or anything. I'm just assuming. Let's just say infrastructure for the military.
mostly weaponry is all I can really get into.
Okay, so you make essential things for the military. With leaving everything over in Afghanistan, do you think as though that is the smart move? Because I have heard contrarian points saying it was actually cheaper to keep stuff over there. What is your opinion on that, and how could you break that down for me in terms of finance?
So my thought is, if it was cheaper to leave things over there, why not destroy the equipment we left? I know that a lot of
Hmm.
the sensitive components were taken out, but why not completely incapacitate the Blackhawks and the Humvees and the armored vehicles? I mean, it wouldn't have cost, in the grand scheme of things, that much to completely render the things useless.
All
And
you need is a pair of scissors and run under and cut every brake line.
oh yeah, or a tiny piece of C4 in
Yeah,
the right
cut
spot.
anything that looks like it's important. I don't think they have the tools
I
over
mean,
there in order to
I
fix
mean,
it.
you can take an angle grinder and cut the blades off of the Blackhawk. Call it a day.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
But we
they
didn't
can't put
do
those
that,
back together with
and
duct tape.
they could try. And we gotta really think as to why they did it. Like, what was the reasoning? And initially, Biden was saying that he was not given other options that involved leaving troops there. But when General Milley and the other Joint Chiefs testified to Congress, they stated, in fact, that they did give Biden several options to leave troops there, and actually recommended leaving troops in Afghanistan while we evacuated. So the bigger question is why did Biden say he was not aware of any plans to leave troops while we were evacuating? Um, did they? So who's lying here? Did President Biden lie and say he wasn't given those options, or the Joint Chiefs lying to Congress to cover their own ass?
That's actually a really good question, and we did talk a little bit about it earlier. Speaking of facades, especially in the executive level of government, have you seen the set that President Biden does? Like, I want to say essentially PR things with, where he got the second vaccine, where he gives like his State of the Union
A lot
addresses.
of his
He's
press
not in the
briefings,
Oval
yeah,
Office. He's on a
he
set.
he yeah, he gave a speech the other night, and when they zoomed out, it was just a set in what looked like almost a warehouse. And I know a
What
former
makes you
member of
think he's
President
not
Trump's.
in the real Oval Office? Why isn't he in his actual place of work?
Well, I mean, just 2 weeks ago, anyone who said he wasn't actually in the White House was a conspiracy theorist,
Hmm.
and now CNN's talking about it. And I don't know which news network did it first, but they zoomed the cameras out, and you could see it was just a set. And people noticed that that there were flowers in the garden behind the window, but the flowers aren't bloomed right now. I mean,
That's
if
right.
they
Yeah,
were
we are
trying to
going into
hide it,
fall.
if they were trying to hide it, why they couldn't get the backdrop correct? And I don't think they had any plans of like making it public knowledge that he was doing that, but the backdrop was just so horribly off for the time of year and looked like, I'm sure I could edit a better backdrop onto a green screen than they did.
Yeah.
I don't. A former Trump staffer said that he thinks Biden is doing that so we can read directly off of a face-on teleprompter and without getting interrupted. But
Could
there's
they not
plenty
have
of
a teleprompter in the Oval Office?
yeah, they could just not allow press into the Oval Office. They could use there's a whole slew of rooms in the White House they could use. I mean, they could even,
Oh,
they could move a coffee. They could move a conference table out of a room and set it up in there. But I mean, I don't see why it's necessary to move the most powerful man in the world to a building with lesser security.
I
It
do
seems
think
kind of
that as well.
it
It
seems
does.
kind of
It
like
seems sketchy. Why would you have to
well,
like what's the point in doing that? To me that just seems like a waste of tax dollars.
well, do you know how much work they must have put into securing that building before he was allowed to go in there?
Right,
And
securing the building and then commissioning someone to build the sets, to organize the sets, to get the lighting
oh
just right, to
yeah,
do all
and
kinds of stuff. Like, there's a
even
reason my stuff looks like crap because I do it myself. Like, imagine a professional team having to get good lighting. You know what I mean?
well, to be fair, your set looks a little bit better than that White House set did, because that
Thank you.
window looked like a kindergarten
Hmm.
water painting. It's very bizarre. I mean, and people have been saying that people that live near the White House have been saying that there hasn't been a Marine outside of the door to the Oval Office, which, from my understanding, is procedure that when the president's
That's
in
pretty
there, there's a
standard,
Marine.
wouldn't you say?
Well, I think it's the policy that there's a Marine standing post. It's not really so much for security; it's a ceremonial thing. It's just very bizarre.
That is
I
very
really,
bizarre, especially as someone who's the leader of the free world during a fragile time as this. We're deep into the pandemic. You just got over Afghanistan. I feel like now it's starting to fade from the public eye, but people are still residually angry about that.
I mean,
Um,
I haven't heard much
yeah,
about it since. No one's, everyone's kind of onto the whole Gabby Petito case now.
which is tragic. Something
It
I
is.
know very little about. I haven't looked
It's
into it so
it's
much as I want to make sure I'm still looking at like the
yeah
big picture. Not saying it's not a big
yeah.
event, but I am
It's
saying I do want to look at the government because usually when local stories like that come out, that
blow up.
means there's
Yeah.
something big happening that people don't want to see.
I mean, I've been checking the news every single day, about 4 times a day, if they found Brian Laundrie, because it is preposterous that that man disappeared like that.
Hmm.
And it also came out that today that he was under police surveillance and still managed to just completely disappear. And it's been what, 2 or 3 weeks now. And Dog the Bounty Hunter's on the case.
I was gonna say, yeah, dude, Dog the Bounty Hunter. You think he's gonna crack the case?
I really hope that he finds him before the FBI, because that would just be that would.
Oh, if he does something before the government does, I'm never paying taxes again. And I've seen that as a meme, and I'm sure any of our viewers have seen that as a meme, but that's absolutely ridiculous. That it just shows how slow and encumbered the
So
federal government is.
so the government got so frustrated trying to find Brian Laundrie, they called in Dog the Bounty Hunter and his glorious mullet to crack the case.
I should grow a mullet. I got curly hair though, so it'd look weird.
You could straighten it. You could always find it at a hairdresser. I think you
Yeah,
look
true.
nice with a mullet.
I
Yeah,
go through a treatment
maybe
program.
a nice man bun or something. But
Yeah. You see me
that
on my
that
days off. I usually have this tied
oh,
up. Believe it
I
or
actually
not,
got a
because the
haircut.
curls
I
spiral, this goes down to like my
Yeah.
chin. My hair's long.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know it. I mean, I haven't seen you in it's been quite a while.
Yeah, in person, it's been quite a while, so I'm
Last
glad
time
we're
I saw
talking
you
over
in
the show.
person, we were dressing up in pretend military uniforms and saluting the flag every morning at Maritime.
That's right. That's right, we were.
And before you
Speaking
come
of
and
other
still,
things, huh? Hmm?
before you come and stolen valor, it was a maritime school.
Yeah,
Before
we
people,
were.
yeah,
It was legit for what it was.
yeah, it
Um,
was legit pretend military school.
while we're talking about things we've talked about and seeing each other, we talked a little bit earlier this week about a new cryptocurrency that's been going up throughout the public eye. Now, I want to offer a disclaimer here so I don't get sued. I am not a financial advisor, nor is Zach here a financial advisor. We're just a couple of goofballs talking
I
about
actually was,
politics and other stuff.
I actually was briefly when I graduated college, but that's
Yeah.
besides the point.
Shiba
Never
Inu
licensed.
coin. Yeah, Shiba
Yeah, that
Inu coin has been popping off this week. It ate a zero last week, going from 3 zeros below 1 cent to 2 zeros. And there's a burn system being implemented next week through the purchase
what
of
was that?
NFTs.
Nearly 300% it went up, or it
Oh
was
yeah,
close to
it's up
400.
from
Then it took a little bit of a dip, but
yeah from the time it was created. It has a 9 million% growth, and there's
wow.
definitely some money to be made. I've been following it. As someone who studied finances, I'm going to bring this back into politics here. Do you think that the rise of cryptocurrencies, especially with as many of them as they are, if enough of them go over $1, proving their value compared to the United States dollar, do you think that could cause a new economic depression? And what do you think the political landscape would be post US currency being less valuable than cryptos?
So here's my thought on that. And when I was working in the finance
Hmm.
industry, this was there. Also, we just shared this belief. I kind of had it before I went in there, and they really solidified it. Is I don't think it's gonna subvert or replace the U.S. dollar. The issue is it's not tied to anything. There's nothing guaranteeing its value. Even Bitcoin, which has been the stablest, one of the stablest of cryptocurrencies, is still wildly erratic.
Hmm.
In traditional investing, we're looking for 5 to 10% growth per year, and in cryptos, you're seeing 1, 2, 3, 200%, 5,000%, 1,000,000% growth, and the it, there's a lot of them have no caps to how many that can be made. I know Bitcoin has a cap of how many can be made. I'm not sure
That's
about
right.
Shiba Inu. You might know more than me.
So Shiba Inu, I think, has 1 quadrillion coins right now. And
Okay.
I think that's the market cap. It's a lot, but
Yeah.
next week they are planning on through selling NFTs and then letting you use Shiba Inu tokens to modify said NFTs. They're going to be burning $1 million worth of Shiba Inu through that.
Yeah. But when there's a quadrillion of them, that's a very small percentage of them.
It will be in the trillions, I believe,
Yeah.
or the bill. I think it would be in the trillions. I
Well,
can look
that's
into that
still
right now. Let me do
a
an exchange rate
quadrillion.
for
A
that.
quad a quadrillion's 1,000 trillion.
Yes, a lot.
So say it's 1 quadrillion or four. Say
It's
it's
one
they burn
thousandth
four.
of it gone.
It'd be four one
Hmm.
thousandths of it gone if they burn 4 trillion.
So just at its current value, I'm just trying to see how much 1
That
million would be.
that would be like me or you throwing away like a dime or a nickel.
What's the value of
The
1 million Shiba Inu coins? Oh my god. You know how Google gives you like the answer right away at the top? And then
Yeah, I'm
sometimes
doing
it
that.
doesn't, and then you're sitting here just
Oh,
like, what? Ugh, give me the answer. I don't want to
as
have to
much as I
actually
hate,
look.
as much like ill will as I have towards the big tech companies, I really don't like when they can't when they fail to predict exactly what I want. But then
Oh yeah.
then other times when they predict exactly what I want, I get very very concerned. Like when I'm thinking about buying a new TV and I go on Instagram and get a bunch of TV ads, and I just thought about it for a couple minutes.
Oh yeah,
It's
and they like, yeah. So
yeah.
$1 million.
So
Hold on. Yeah, 1, 2. $1 million worth of Shiba Inu coin is
let me guess. Let me guess before you say it. Ready? one
okay.
million dollars worth.
Yes.
I want to say that's $165. Oh wow.
No, it's
Okay,
not 1
1 million.
million Shiba coins, 1 million
Okay,
USD.
1 million USD. I think it's gonna be 12 billion Shiba Inu coins.
Close actually. It's 38 billion, a little over 38 billion.
Okay, so I was about 50% off.
Well, it's closer than I was. I was
I,
shooting way
I,
too high on
I,
it.
I sounded so confident in my answer, and I misunderstood what you were asking.
See, it won't be the definitive burn. There's obviously going to be more ways to do
Yeah.
that, but it is a start and it is going to heighten the value. So, to my listeners at the Political Zoo, I am not a financial advisor at all, but just letting you know, I do have a little bit in Shiba Inu, and just looking at it, I've done nothing but gain money. So,
Here,
but it's
here's
it's
my
kind of like
stance.
stocks and stuff. And we did bring that up earlier with Nancy Pelosi. What makes cryptos extremely interesting when you compare them to stocks and other company trading is there's no laws to regulate it because it's all decentralized, all on the internet. We can
That
blatantly insider trade using cryptos and we're completely legal.
That's also a drawback of cryptos as well.
Mm-hmm.
And back to your initial question, how do you see it, coming back to the U.S. dollar
Right.
affecting the U.S. economy kind of thing? I don't think it'll ever take over for the U.S. dollar, mainly that the U.S. dollar is like the world reserve currency.
Mm-hmm.
All international trades done in dollars. Other countries manipulate their currency strength to the dollar. They devalue their currency to get more favorable trades.
Do you
Do you,
think we'll ever live in a cashless society?
I certainly hope not. A cashless society. I mean, the government is just, quite frankly, not going to let the majority of transactions be done via untraceable decentralized currency. That's just not. They're just not going to allow that. The government might create its own cryptocurrency that they can track.
Right.
I mean, look at the new thing that the Biden administration wants to do, where they're gonna flag every transaction over $600 to look for
I
debts
have
that
seen
weren't
that. If you
paid.
know a little bit, if you know about it, why don't you just explain it to our audience, people who might not know that?
So basically, what the proposed bill is the IRS is going to be able to go into your bank accounts and audit every transaction over $600 to make sure taxes were paid on it, and it's just it's a middle finger to the Fourth Amendment, is what that is. And
Yep.
Mr. Biden said it himself that when on national TV, he said that your constitutional rights are not absolute, and he's proved that with his stance on the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, and now the Fourth. And for anyone who's not familiar, the Fourth Amendment protects us from illegal searches and seizures. And I think that going into your bank account, because you sell something you made at your house and you sell it for $600. Now, or if this passes, they'll be able to go in and tax that and audit your account, and that seems like a gross invasion of privacy.
I agree. The reasoning that the Biden administration gave to why this is going to be implemented is to make sure that all billionaires have their transactions audited and taxed correctly. Millionaires and billionaires, the 1%, the rich. Um, I don't know about you, but I definitely feel as though $600 is way too low of an auditable
So
check. You know, I
we
feel like that's more about control of the middle class than it is. If I was truly making sure that the billionaires and millionaires are taxed, I would put anything above $10,000 transaction. I wouldn't go to $600.
well actually right now it is 10,000. So if I had to go to deposit $9,999, I won't get flagged. $10,000. That's how it is now, and they say they want to tax the rich, but let's be real here, they don't. Every tax policy they're putting into place is going to hurt lower middle class families. The
Hmm.
when it from all the way from the mileage tax they want to do to having to have liability insurance on your firearms and taxing your magazines. For people who are financially well off, they're not going to drive less because they got to pay a mileage tax. But a single mother working two jobs to support her children is going to drive less if she has to pay a mileage. I mean, the wealthy people really aren't going to get affected by this at all. If a
The
rich guy
wealthy
wants
people
to
are the
have,
ones with electric cars anyway. They're the ones that buy new
yeah,
Teslas and things. They're not going to
well,
have to pay this.
it's not a petroleum tax; it's a mileage tax per mile, and that's kind of their reasoning in the bill isn't the actual tax; it's the pilot program for the tax, and their reasoning is when all cars are electric. I mean, right now we already have a mileage tax. They tax their gasoline, which is
Hmm.
essentially a mileage tax. Is once gasoline cars are obsolete, they're not going to be getting that petroleum tax anymore, and they have to make it up somehow with a mileage tax. And by implementing that now, they feel like they can push more people towards electric cars faster. Because with a gas car, if this passes, you're essentially getting double taxed. You're getting taxed on your gasoline, and you're getting taxed per mile you drive.
Remember, the Boston Tea Party was because of a 3% increase in tax on tea. And yet we're getting
Man,
double taxed for
we
driving our cars as working class citizens to our jobs to be able to afford the skyrocketing rent and other taxes that are put on everything else, whether it comes to like meal tax, more other things that are rising right now because of global climate change. I'm all for helping out, cleaning up our planet. I'm all for green initiatives, but when it comes at the cost of common sense and hurting people, especially in the working class, I can't support it at that point.
I mean, to be fair, I'm pretty sure tea is still not taxed. So there's that. So that was a victory. I mean, don't get it wrong. That
True.
was a huge. I mean, we've had tax-free tea for 200 years now. So
Hmm. I'd love to go back in time and tell the people in the Revolutionary War that then 200 some odd years, tea is still not taxed.
hey, let me interrupt for a sec. I just got to turn my camera off so I can charge my phone.
Sure thing. Do what you got to do. I can
So,
go right off your voice.
okay, thank you. I know, such a beautiful voice.
All right.
So
So,
what I was going with that is we're going to
mhm.
be we're already double taxed a lot on a lot of things. I paid
Such
sales
as what? Can
tax,
you give
at
an
least in
example?
Massachusetts. Well, in Massachusetts, I paid sales tax on my vehicle when I bought it. I'm moving to the great state of New Hampshire next week where there's no sales tax. So I pay sales tax on my vehicle, and then I pay excise tax every year on my vehicle. And then I got to pay to register it, pay for my inspection. And I mean, an excise tax is based on the value of your vehicle every year. So I pay sales tax up front and then a tax based on the value of my vehicle every year. Why should I pay taxes on something that I own after I have
Yeah,
purchased it?
something you already have. It's not like you're buying a new one. It's you
Uh,
already have it.
yeah, as much as I hate the idea of property tax, I understand it because that's paid to your local towns. So they have to get money to like perform the services we all enjoy, like
Right.
police or fire department or
Right,
trash removal.
exactly.
So I'm okay with
Exactly. I'm
property
not for
tax.
no taxes at all because I
No
do
tax.
understand that local governments provide a lot for the community
Yes,
and they're able to,
I
mhm.
was actually completely against taxes until a couple of years ago when we have an employee who emigrated here from Vietnam, and this was years ago when I got one of my first paychecks. I was like, "Man, I hate taxes." And he goes, "We don't have a lot of taxes where I'm from, and it shows. Be grateful that you have taxes because you have nice roads to drive on and a safe community." And that put it in perspective. Taxes are a necessary evil, but a lot of the tax money is spent wildly irresponsibly.
Yes, I definitely agree with that, especially with a lot of Congress members affording multiple houses,
Oh,
multiple
they don't.
boats, nice cars.
th-
I am of
They're
the sound mind. I did bring this up last week for any returning viewers that I believe that the person who is there of a state, whether they be a representative or senator, should be paid the median wage of that state.
well. To be fair, the median wage now is astronomically low. The average household income in the United States is $55,000 a year.
Did you hear? I said median, not minimum.
Well, no, the median household income
Yeah, okay.
of the median household income in the U.S. is $55,000 a year.
I know sometimes my mic is snap crackle popping, so I
Yeah,
always just want to make sure you heard what I said.
yeah. The
I'm
median
working on
household
better
income.
internet. It's part of the fires I'm putting out.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm all for congressmen making $250,000 a year for being there. It's a very important job,
Hmm.
and wages based on how much you provide to society. So I'm all for them making $250,000 a year, but we should completely ban them making any money outside of their salary because they're not buying these houses, these $1 million mansions on their salaries. They're buying these $1 million mansions on the kickbacks they get or the insider trading they do or super PACs they make or some
Hmm.
someone gifts them someone donates $1 million to their nonprofit, and next day they decide to change their vote to yes on their bill. There's a lot of
Yep.
coincidences, which I like the Clinton Foundation taking in hundreds of millions of dollars in donations, and then Hillary sells all uranium to Russia.
Yeah.
I mean that if they were restricted to only gaining income from their salaries is one thing because there's no financial incentive, and that should be for life. Like they should have that $250,000 salary for life, and then anything they make outside of that should be monitored. Because they can,
Even if they were a one-term politician,
well,
say
yeah,
someone gets elected and they get, they're in for 2 years in the House of Representatives. Say they show up, they do terribly, and then they leave. Are they still entitled to that base salary?
well, here's the issue: is we have to do something to guarantee they're not going to take. Because even if they can only make that their base salary while they're in office, who's to say that some some high net worth individual isn't going to tell this congressperson to, hey, if you vote yes on this bill, when you get out, I'll make sure you have a really good job. I'll guarantee
Mhm.
you a spot on my board. You can still bribe somebody without paying them right now. I can promise you a very high position in my company. I can promise you anything I want while you're in there. And we have, I mean, corruption's natural. Corruption's a natural order of things, as sad as it is.
What would be your way of completely eliminating this corruption? Like, is there some kind of monetization system people should go under? People should be, should we take payout if there's any issues? Should we be able to read all of Congress people's emails and texts? What would be your solution to corruption?
It's really tricky because as long every country has corruption throughout all of history, and corruption's a natural order of things. I mean, human beings are inherently selfish. I mean, we have a survival instinct. We inherently want what's best for us and our families. And there's so much money being thrown around in Washington D.C. Um, I like to think of like I'm a pretty honest individual, but I don't know what I would do with hundreds of millions of dollars being thrown around. I don't know how that would influence my votes. And
Hmm.
these people have a lot of power and a lot of influence because money does talk. And even if you don't take the money, you're not going to win re-election because you need the super PAC money to even run. You need tens of millions of dollars to even consider running. So they can pull the money, and them pulling your money and what they give to your campaign almost guarantees a loss. So if you want a political career, you almost have to accept the super PAC money and the big donors, and you have to, or you're not getting in. You're not going to win.
So, how do you think we should get around that? Do you think we should eliminate the cost of advertising? Do you think that there should be exclusive TV spots that are paid by the networks to have people on? How would you get around that? Because it seems like you identified the problem that you have to get a lot of money to run. What's a way to cut that out of the equation?
Well, that's tricky because the TV network's not going to just put this spot up without making money on it, and advertising companies and advertising firms aren't going to make your ads unless you pay them. Um, Unfortunately, we live in a capitalist society, and you need a lot of money to reach a lot of people. And I don't have any answers as to how to fix that, but the two-party system is extremely broken, and that's what really
So, do you
causes it.
think? So, my biggest gripe, and I have a couple of things I want to say. So, my biggest gripe with the argument, like, oh, the two-party system is broken. I do agree with that. I don't like having to choose between one or another. But say we move to a three or a four-party system. Say we had a four-party system, right? Where the minimum votes you would need to get in order to get to the presidency is 26%. So you could realistically have an election where
You get
one
one
candidate,
quarter
yeah, one candidate gets 26%
and
and
wins.
then and wins. Now you have 74% of the population that didn't want the person in that office, which is a majority rule grounds for like actual revolution to where it's not a slim margin, that's a really large margin.
So I think a way around that is there's only two. There should only end up being two nominees for president at the end of it.
Hmm.
But the two-party system, they can nominate almost whoever they want. I mean, I think that most of the country can agree that Donald Trump and Joe Biden were not the two most qualified human beings in the country to run in 2020. But that's who we go. I mean, there's no other options. I mean, if you vote right now, if you vote Libertarian or what's the other, Rainbow Party is another one. Then there's a couple others. But if you vote an alternative party, you're almost throwing away your vote right now. Because a lot of these guys, like Gary Johnson, I mean, he was kicking around, and people who were into politics knew who Gary Johnson was. But I'd be willing to bet the vast majority of people might only recognize the name, because he didn't have the money to get out there and make a wave.
What do you think of tournament voting? Of essentially taking, so you know those calling polls where people ask you about government, say through those polls, they create a seed list, like a seed chart, like legit in any other kind of sport. And then you have multiple elections over the course of a few months where you have, the like 4 elections, 1 versus the 8 seed, the 2 versus the 7 seed. You have those 4 elections. And then every 4 weeks, there's an election in those to knock it out until it gets to the final election.
See,
Would
that's a
you
good
think that's a
idea.
good substitute, or?
That's a good idea, but it's hard enough getting people to show up for one election right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our voter turnout's pretty low. What, we had
True.
120 million people vote. That's less than 50% voter turnout.
Yes. Do
And
you think that
and
there
a lot
should
of people,
be?
like lower
No, go
income
ahead.
families, might not be able to get 4 days out of the week or four weeks in a row to go vote. Because at least I know for me, it's kind of hard to get over there and be able to get my vote in before the polling
Now,
stations close.
from my point of view, and if I say like I become supreme ruler of America and now I am in complete control, what I would do personally is the voting day is a complete paid holiday.
As it should be, because I know a lot of people just
Yes.
don't go because it's too much of a pain to get there.
Too much pain. You gotta get time off work. You're gonna
But
miss whatever.
still,
Every voting
people
day
aren't.
should be like a paid day
The federal
off.
holiday, yeah.
Yeah, federal
But
holiday. It's
you're
paid and
asking
like so people can get in
employers,
there.
but then you're asking employers to foot the bill for that. For that is the other
Mm-hmm.
thing, is you're going to ask all these private companies that, hey, we want you to vote. You have to foot the bill.
Do you think maybe a compromise on that could be there could be some kind of stamp or some kind of card you get that you receive leaving after you vote, and if you present that, you get the day off. If you don't present it, you don't get it off. Do you think that could be a
That
happy
could
compromise?
that could get tricky, because you can get, radical or far right and far left employers that say you're only getting paid if you vote Democrat or Republican, and you got to prove. I
It
mean,
wouldn't say on the card who you voted for. Like
yeah, but
you would
that's
show up
still,
and you would get like something like a watermarked card that said, "I voted today's date, signed by somebody." And then you would take that to work and say, "Hey, I voted. Here's my card. That means I get yesterday paid."
there'd just be a lot of backlash for that. I mean, because
Mm-hmm.
we have almost 200 employees now, and if we had to pay all 200 for one day, that's a lot of money, and there's no production. Is the thing. I mean, we're okay, having Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving off, because everybody, well, we don't want to be there. We want to be celebrating too. The owners want to be celebrating too. It's just
I mean,
difficult.
the owners would be voting as well, though.
Yeah, but the owners don't want to lose a day of production, day of making money, and it's still going to cost them. That's tricky. I kind of like, have you heard of ranked voting? Where
Yes, we went into it a little bit last weekend. It's just to figure it out again. So it's essentially you vote for somebody, and then your second choice would be this kind of person, right?
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with how it works, but all I know is, you might know more than me. So could you explain your understanding of it?
So last week I had on Ace and Jackie, who are awesome, and I know Jackie explained it. Now I'm going to see if I can remember it well. So it's essentially you vote for a first and a second place, and
Yeah.
then the second place would get like a vote value, and the first place would get a higher vote value, obviously, and it's whoever has the biggest combined vote values would win.
So Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so like
So then, like,
essentially like
so the
yeah.
majority of America can end up getting the second person they like.
Yeah, so like for example, like first like number one guy would get a full vote, number two guy would get half vote.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah,
everyone
yeah.
could wildly disagree on their top guy, but if a lot of people agree on their second guy, the second guy could have a chance to get to the top.
I feel like if we had that in 2020, we'd have President Sanders right now.
Well, Bernie Sanders was more popular among Democrats. He has been consistently since 2016.
Which leads me to believe, how on earth are Hillary and Biden getting these nominations?
Because we actually talked about this last week at the
And the super
Democratic
delegates,
National
aren't they?
Convention. The DNC like openly cheats. It all goes to their friends.
You
They
see,
mess with the votes of the delegates. They have a really convoluted and complicated system on how they pick who goes into the election. I
yeah,
believe they
they
do
have
that on
super
purpose
delegates too,
to
right?
manipulate it. Yeah,
They
delegates, super delegates, and
and you
yeah,
see,
they've screwed over Bernie Sanders multiple times. And
well, you see Bernie
I'm not a fan of
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. I won't ever vote for him, but I do think it's ridiculous what
You
happened
gotta
to
feel
him
bad for the
multiple
guy.
times.
You gotta feel bad for him. I mean, he was. I
I
mean, what
do.
was
I feel
Biden?
bad, and I genuinely feel as though he wants what's best for the United States. I disagree with him on what is the best call for the United States. Obviously, not on everything, but on a few key issues that makes me not want to vote for him. But like, I do feel like he is more of a modest politician. Granted, he does have three houses and three boats, so he's
I
part of this
wish
whole thing.
you
But
you see
I
that.
do think as though he should have been on the primary ticket. We should have had a Democratic nominee Sanders, but it just never went through because it's who's already established in these political royalty. You have the Clintons, who's essentially political royalty. Obama's new political royalty. So anyone connected to him is, which in turn Biden, who has been in the system since forever, and now he's at the top because he knows people. It's his turn, kind of a thing.
Well, fun little tidbit there is Joe Biden's been in politics so long. He served with three people born in the 1800s while he was in Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they
Wow.
were born in like 1899, but that's still that's
Hey, that's still
first off,
another decade.
yeah, it's century.
Yeah.
First off,
I'm sorry,
I
not
think
decade.
there should be an age limit on politicians. I mean, Nancy Pelosi, what on earth does she know about society today? You ever see your
Oh yeah,
grandparents
when's
start
the
using
last time they
iPhones?
have personally bought milk and eggs and bread?
More so than that, you ever see your grandfather try to use an iPhone?
True.
Someone that age is running the country.
Yes.
They just
Do
don't.
you think
I
what do
saw
you
an
think a
age,
good cap age would be?
65, age of
I
retirement.
think 65 as well.
But you see that when someone from Instagram went to a congressional hearing, and
Mhm.
the I think it was a Republican congressman was asking, you know what a Finsta is, right?
Yes, I saw that clip.
Yeah, and
Go
he
go
was like,
ahead. Yeah.
yeah, and he was going on is,
Yeah.
you have a type of account called a Finsta. Can you get rid of that? And the woman's like, no, that's
Yeah.
not like a type of account. It's the way
Yeah.
someone
What
uses,
what are you
and
doing to delete Finsta?
the guy could not understand that Finsta is. He didn't get it. He was totally bamboozled by this.
For our older viewers or viewers who don't know what a Finsta is, I'm exclusively thinking about my parents because they watch the show. A Finsta is a fake Instagram account. It's essentially an alternate account. A lot of people use it to post things they don't want associated with their main account. Say, I
Embarrassing
post professional
pictures.
pictures on my main account, but my Finsta is me partying at the beach, kind of a thing. It's just stuff you put more so you can be like, post your irresponsible fun times without having it be linked back to your previous self.
Yeah, and you post like inside jokes with your close friends or embarrassing photos for your friends,
Yeah,
and
it's where you can
you know.
kind of goof off and be a little more personable and not be someone who's professional in case of a business or organization looking at your social media.
But Congress wants to not wants Instagram to delete that feature.
It's not even a feature. You just make a different account.
I,
Like,
I,
what is he talking
yes, and the woman's like, no, it's not. It's just a.
What are you going to do to leave Finsta? What?
It's just like, no, it's just an account. People, how someone uses their account. He's like, well, can you delete that? And she's like, no, it's just the type of account. It's like,
Yeah,
yes, can you
it's an
get rid of that
account.
type?
Like,
And the guy, can you get rid of that type of account? And I saw it, and I thought it was a Saturday Night Live skit. I would.
It honestly sounded like it.
It sounded
Can
like
you delete
satire.
Instas? Yeah.
Oh, that was nuts. That was
I could imagine
it.
some senator saying, "So, the GIF caption, what's mematic?" Like people just not even knowing anything about the internet, but yet they're at a congressional hearing to
About the internet.
monitor it. It's the same with gun control.
Oh
You got
yeah,
a group of people who have no idea what they're talking about, trying to
that
limit
one.
it and edit it and change things. Remember when, as part of they banned a bunch of companies from selling firearms in the United States, and one of the companies, excuse me, that was banned from doing that was Assault Rifle Coffee, like a black coffee bean company. Like they don't sell guns.
You see
Like these
when
people don't know anything,
you see when
especially and this whole generation doesn't know anything.
you see the congressman said that the semi-fully automatic AR-15 can shoot
Hmm.
15 clips per 50, it can shoot 15 magazines per clip.
That's right.
First of all, a clip and a magazine are different. Semi-automatic rifles have magazines. So
Hmm.
a clip holds, we'll say 10-round clip. So it fires 10-round clips per second. That's amazing.
Wow. Imagine the
That's a
speed reload you have to do
that's
to
that's
to accomplish
100
that.
rounds a second. That is amazing.
That's insane. One time I saw like a Facebook post. I don't know if it was trolling or not, but some woman said AK-47 stands for automatic killer, 47 deaths per pull of the trigger.
If you're really good, it could be
Dude,
47 deaths.
dude, not
Yeah.
like a not a semi-automatic, not an automatic, not a 3-round burst, 47 round burst. The entire clip in one pull of the trigger just shoots out.
That's entire magazine.
Entire magazine,
We don't want to be as
entire
bad as
thing.
them. I saw another thing, and I thought it was fake, but they also had a chainsaw attachment pictured on a firearm saying that should be
I
banned.
remember seeing that. Someone plays Gears of War.
That, yeah,
That's hilarious. That's
he
a
wants.
video game. Come on, Congress.
I'm trying to find a chainsaw attachment for my AR. That'd be some guy breaks into your house, you fire up the chainsaw on the AR. Could you imagine?
Oh, it'd be insane. Just
You
running
go
up and down the hall.
you go
Chainsaw
hunting.
gun.
You go hunting. You get a deer. You fire the chainsaw up and gut it right there.
There were a lot of really
Oh,
funny memes that come out of
yo,
that graphic.
fun
I
fact.
remember seeing one where it was like possible attachments for a
Death
revolver
Star.
pistol. Yeah,
Death
possible attachment for a revolver pistol, anti-air missiles. Just like
Also,
wicked
fun fact.
stupid.
Fun fact.
But yeah, but yeah.
chainsaws were originally invented for C-sections?
I don't even want to think about that.
Chainsaws were
That sounds
originally
awful.
invented for C-sections.
That sounds absolutely terrible. I wouldn't
Like,
want to be in part of any medical procedure and hear a chainsaw start off.
unless they're amputating my leg and I have to get through my tree trunk sized
Yeah,
femur, but
exactly. Yeah, it's like the only way to do it. It's like, yeah, but yeah, that goes back to our point. There are these.
what madman said, "Let's get that baby out of there," and fires up a chainsaw?
Oh my goodness, that's insane. But that does go back to the point we were trying to make. Like these people in government are too old. They don't understand current society. They're clinging to power and they're hurting us in the process. I definitely agree with a 65-year-old age cap. And even then, like, do a lot
if you
of
have
60-year-olds
nothing
know
to
how like
do,
phones
if you
and
have
internet accounts work?
yeah, and if you have nothing to do with the issue, you shouldn't
Hmm.
be legislating on it. And I'm not a
Exactly.
feminist, but I don't think a 75-year-old white man should be legislating on women's rights or any women's issues because one, doctors didn't know the female orgasm was real till the 80s. So that's preposterous. And
Are you telling
secondly,
me it's actually real?
I have yet to confirm that it's real, but I
Yeah,
like to think I like to
more
think
research has to be done on that. We'll get back to you guys next week.
I will research that tonight and I'll get back to you. But scientists didn't think it was real, and then the vibrator was invented to treat hysteria in women. It was a medical instrument.
I mean, if I was acting the fool and someone, did the male equivalent of a vibrator on me,
Oh, hey,
I'd calm down pretty quick.
You better watch your tone. You said your parents watch this. I would cool it down. Hey, man, you're acting kind of crazy. Grabs a flashlight.
I was gonna say, yeah, just talk. Hey, he's acting a little crazy. Throw him the flashlight. He'll
Grabs,
figure himself out
grabs
in a
a
second.
sex doll because I'm acting awry.
Listen, it's the asylum of the flashlight.
I
You
mean, check.
pick.
I mean, the guy who discovered germ theory realized that when he washed his hands, the babies he was delivering and the mothers died significantly less, and he was ridiculed so much that he died alone in the mental institution. They thought he was
Wow.
nuts. Yeah, and people
And now,
like
if you don't
that.
hand sanitize like 3 times a day in this pandemic, you get screamed at.
Oh, I mean, I had a SWAT team roll up because I took my mask off in my car. That was that was nuts.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Ugh. You know what's even
Would
more
not
crazy
doubt
is
that.
we're at the age now where we know the
Mhm.
police. Like I'm driving down the
Yeah.
road in my small town, and I know all the cops. And I thought my parents were ancient for knowing the cops, and now they're kids I went to school with.
Speaking of cop intervention, have you heard what's going on in certain sections of the United States right now with the parent teacher, like the PTO and the PTAs with critical race theory and other education
Yeah. So even my
protests? Yeah.
girlfriend, who is very much not into politics and leans to the left, but she tries to stay out of it, is appalled at what's going on in elementary schools where they're teaching this and there. I know a school around here. I can't remember the school. One of my girlfriend's coworkers' children. They're teaching like critical race theory and transgender and proper pronouns to use, and that they made all the white people, all the white kids, like admit they're racist and apologize. But racism is first off, it's taught, and children inherently are not racist and like love everybody. So introducing critical race theory into the classroom is introducing these racist concepts to children that would otherwise have no idea even what racism is.
Exactly. We're at this cusp of this generation where I feel like, especially with our generation, we were grown up on sediments of not being racist. We grew up on lessons from Dr. King. We grew up on a lot of like all those millions of specials we watched, in school on Black history and how everyone's equal and everyone's cool with that. And I know there's always going to be people who are going to be jerks. There's always going to be
Yeah,
racist a-holes. There's always going to be
and
people
and,
who are
and come
going
come
to
to think
say
of that,
really dumb things, but it's waning, it's
you
going
know,
down, but now that
yeah,
these people are introducing it back into the
it's higher than
system,
ever, higher
yeah, it's
than
higher than
ever.
ever because now you're creating this us versus them.
And
And
growing up,
this is the
a lot
powers
of
that be. I'm
people,
not blaming any racial group for this. I'm
yeah,
blaming the
that
powers that be because with the FBI showing up to PTA meetings and labeling people domestic terrorists for wanting their kids to not think that they're inherent racists, the people who are pulling that shit are the people who want us to be divided so we don't say, hey, no, get out of here before I get my gun.
it's
Because
all
when we're
about divide.
together and we're
It's
we're willing
all
to help each other like that, they have no power.
it's all divide and conquer. I mean, for the past better part of 3 years, it was black versus white. Either with the whole George Floyd case and all those cases, it was
Mhm.
black versus white all over the news 24/7. And now it's vaxxed versus unvaxxed.
Yeah.
At first it was divided around by racial lines, and now it's your cousin could be vaccinated and you're not, and they could hate you for it. It's dividing families and neighborhoods. And you know what I hate how with the first thing everyone does is compare their political opposition to the Nazis. For 4 years,
Mhm.
Democrats, Donald Trump's a Nazi, and then before that, Barack Obama's a Nazi. Now, it just that's just the insult you use. And one, it's very insensitive because Nazis are horrible people and decimated a large portion of Jewish people.
Mhm.
So one, there aren't many Nazis around. There's a few, and they come out and very briefly and
Yeah.
are
There's
almost
always
like
going to be
universally.
jerks.
Yeah,
We'll
but
never
anyone who
achieve a society free from jerks. It's
our
always going to
school
be that way.
our school actually had a Nazi for a day,
I
and he
remember
got
that.
he came to breakfast dressed up in a full SS uniform and swiftly got expelled.
Yeah, it did not take long. Got him.
Not for
Yeah.
hate speech, but because per the rules of our school, a rule from the early 1900s, you cannot wear the uniform of an enemy combatant at Mass Maritime, and that's why he got expelled. But so what? I sound like Joe Biden now. So what I was getting to
But yeah,
is,
good.
yeah, I got hairy legs. I'm stacking tomato sauce,
the kids like to play in the pool, and
and I'm gonna mobilize interim under pressure.
my son does cocaine in the Ukraine.
Hunter Biden's actually a world-renowned artist now.
Oh, is he?
Oh, he's selling his pieces for hundreds of thousands of dollars to Ukrainians. Isn't that something?
Modern art is all a money laundering scheme anyway.
I might just throw some blue paint on the canvas and call it a pro.
Well, the whole point is you have to know an appraiser who will be able to get it at a high value.
You got to do some meth with the Ukrainians, and then you got to squint real hard.
Yeah, there's a guy on YouTube named Jake Tran. He makes a bunch of really good YouTube videos on people who make a bunch of money and either how they launder their money, how they keep rich, and he's a great YouTube channel. I definitely recommend you check him out.
Are these tutorial videos? Because I could use some of those.
I mean, there's always a disclaimer. It is for entertainment.
Okay.
But
do you have an alternate tutorial account I can get?
But like the way that modern art is used to essentially launder money and get taxes away is that you get somebody who knows somebody, they splash some paint on a canvas, and they get an appraiser who has a reputation, who just goes, oh, this is awesome art, this is great, this is worth $100 million. So say you have to pay like 200 million in taxes, so you buy that painting and donate it to a museum, and now that's a tax write-off of $100 million you don't have to pay. And then at any point, like, you can just take that out.
Am I missing something here? Because this is maybe something I've always been confused about avoiding taxes that way. You still spent the $200 million. You just chose.
You still spent it, but you can get that 100 back.
Okay.
Because when you like give it to the museum, you can like get it back from them, and then you can sell it again. It's just it's essentially turning the liquid asset into a solid asset, and then waiting to turn it back into liquid later on.
Okay, so we got way off track, but what I was originally talking about is how in Nazi Germany,
that's the point of the zoo, baby. We go all over the place.
It wasn't. I'm laughing talking about this, and I shouldn't be, but it wasn't like the SS rounding people up. For the most part, it was German civilians ratting out their neighbors for being Jews. It was neighbor versus neighbor. And right now we're in a situation where it's neighbor versus neighbor again. Earlier in the pandemic, you were calling to report your neighbor for having more than 10 people over. And now it's reporting neighbor for not being vaccinated and not wearing a mask. Like, they're turning, because for them, dividing us down racial lines was not enough. Now they're dividing us down vaxxed versus unvaxxed lines, which is an even bigger divide. And the unvaxxed is going to be a very small minority, like a smaller minority than the African American community is to the white community. They're trying to get more division going on here. And what I noticed is when they started pushing this vaxxed versus unvaxxed agenda, the BLM riots kind of went away. I haven't seen.
Interesting.
And
I'm looking it up right now.
The founder of BLM bought a $13 million mansion, and if she really wanted to help the Black community, she could have invested $13 million into schools, or she could have built a $13 million housing development with like several, probably 5 or 6 multifamily homes. But instead, she built a mansion for herself.
Right.
She's not trying to help anybody.
Oh yeah, no, it's for their own gain. That's how it always works.
And
I'm actually looking at statistics right now for COVID vaccination.
Yeah.
And a lot of states are at that 50% to 60% line, but there's a lot of them that are in the 40% that are before 50%. How long do you think it will get this country to be vaccinated to the point where the CDC says it's okay for us to no longer be like in full COVID lockdown mode, because a new article that was revealed today, which
I'm assuming I haven't
I'm
seen it.
so I'm so mad at my laptop doesn't let me do this quickly.
So about the COVID vaccination status, as
Yeah.
Fauci said,
Here we
it's
go. I got it
still
right here.
Dr. Fauci said it's unclear if we'll be able to gather for Christmas, but I can go to an NFL stadium with 65,000 other people and I'm fine.
Yep. So, according to
Yeah.
CNBC,
Yep.
yeah,
Move along.
yep, yep.
Checks out
According
to
to
me.
CNBC, the U.S. has a 55% vaccination rate, excuse me. The Delta variant is more contagious than other variants. And Dr. Rochelle Walensky says that ending the pandemic here depends on human behavior.
So
Now, do you think that that is somewhat of like an overreach or somewhat of a blaming kind of a thing? Like to me, this whole COVID thing of everyone gets their vaccines and all do that, just it makes me think of like a teacher in elementary school or something who's
yeah,
like making all the kids
it
do something.
I think it's a control thing because
Oh
you know
yeah, it
how
feels
like
like a
one
control thing.
third.
It feels like conditioning.
So you know, 1/3 of the military is like being other than dishonorably discharged, other than honorably discharged for not getting the vaccine.
Hmm.
When just 6 months ago, Joe Biden made all the military members retake their oath, which is very unusual. I have a lot of friends in the military, and they all said that the only time you have to retake your oath is when you reenlist, and they had to all retake it after in January. And then so remember they were screening for anyone who's too far to the right in the military.
Hmm.
It's almost like Joe Biden kicking anyone out who won't get the vaccine is him ensuring compliance from the military for any orders he's going to give. Because why else would he was very paranoid right from the get go? They kept those fences up at the Capitol. They took the National Guard weren't allowed to have ammunition for their rifles. They're protecting the Capitol, but they couldn't have any ammunition in their rifles because he was so paranoid. They were ultra right, sympathizers.
100%. Yeah, we have a comment here from Woodchip 1031. Fauci is nuts. Uh, I wouldn't say
Fauci is
he's.
fucking nuts, dude. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
I would
The
say that
guy's
he's definitely part of this like machine here that's trying to get us to
well,
comply and.
Dr. Fauci, dude, said that there
Mhm.
was no gain of function research in Wuhan. Donald Trump is lying. And you know what? We recently found out Dr. Fauci personally signed off on the funding of the gain of function research in Wuhan.
That's right. I remember it was Dr. Fauci and Rand Paul
Yeah.
who had a back and forth in a congressional hearing where Fauci was playing semantics because it wasn't him directly. It was a foundation that's owned by a foundation, that's owned by a hospital, that's owned by this. It's a chain that leads to Fauci. But
Yeah, but
he was able
yeah,
to hide behind that and said it wasn't. But there was gain of function research and like the biolab it was made, it made an issue to the point where it got,
France,
out to the point of a
France,
global pandemic.
France raised the alarm bell, the red flag
Hmm.
about the Wuhan lab in 2017 and withdrew all funding from that lab and brought it to the World Health Organization's attention that it was dangerous and they were completely ignored.
100%. And France is known for their protests. A couple of weeks ago, there were mass protests, people flooding the streets in Paris
I
over
actually
vaccine passports
I
in the
have a
European
I
Union.
have a
Not a
very
peep in the
hard
United
time.
States.
I had a very hard time finding any
Hmm.
information about that. Same with the Australian protests. I really can't find it anywhere. But like I Google France protests and I don't see anything. I can't seem to find any information on what happened in France.
Yeah, they make it really hard to find outside of the US because they don't want US getting any ideas.
And
Because there's
you gotta
still a
remember
huge amount of the population that doesn't
it,
want this,
and we gotta
that
remember
isn't getting it.
France is like the OG. They're our OG ally. Before the
Oh
only
yeah,
reason
they
we're
were
a
there for
country is France.
the yeah, they were
And
there
then
for the revolution.
and then they asked for help and we said no. Serves you right, France. Take your baguette and get out of here.
Yeah, they had they had their own French version. That was a lot though.
But the
Because
whole
then with Napoleon spreading uh, ideas of democracy and freedom of choice, it truly brought down the monarchical structure of Europe.
except for Elizabeth, the good old Lizzie over there. She's holding
That's
down the
right.
fort. She's holding down the fort. Lilybet, holding down the fort over in England.
Do
I
you
would rather
think
I
that
would rather
after
pay
Queen Elizabeth, sorry, what?
I would rather pay taxes to Queen Elizabeth than I would to Joe Biden. She's adorable. She was a mechanic in World War II. She was a mechanic.
There's some speculation going around that she had something to do with Princess Diana's demise.
That's been a theory like since the day she died. Because
I know
she
there was
was a
some
she.
documents that were thrown around. I'm not English, so I don't really follow it, but I
My
remember seeing like
grandmother's English.
documents where
My grandmother's English. My grandmother immigrated from England during World War II.
correct
She came
choice.
over. Yeah, there's Princess Diana wrote a letter saying that they're trying to kill me in a car crash. It was
Spooky.
the only person who was nice to Princess Diana was Prince Philip, and she called him dearest Pa. She signed her
Aw.
letters. Yeah, Prince Philip was actually a pretty good guy. I mean, back then he agreed to just play second fiddle to his wife his entire life, and that's really noble of him. He was a really great man.
That's cool.
He was actually, no doubts about it, he was a great guy. But back to the COVID protests, man. I
Yeah, I was
mean,
gonna say we're not
yeah,
English. We're talking about American politics over here.
I'm only first generation American. I'm English, so
Oh,
second
so
generation, right? So if my grandmother's from England, my mother's first generation, I'm second, I guess.
yes.
But it turns
Yeah,
out I
that's how
did
that
my
works.
ancestry, and on my grandfather's side, his family was actually in Ipswich before the United States was a country. So
That's pretty cool.
one of my grandfather's relatives bought land from the founder of my town. So I hope to God I don't get stuck here for 250 years. But yeah, I haven't been able to find much information, and I think you're right. They don't want us getting any ideas.
Yeah, they don't want people getting ideas that, hey, if we all just flood the streets and stop going to work, we can grind to a halt.
Maybe if we start protesting, they'll just give us all flashlights to help our hysteria.
Hey, bread and circus.
You know what?
Just
Did I say that to you the other night on the phone?
yes, you did.
I did. Yeah. The bread and circus has been a policy since the Roman emperors to keep the masses
Hmm.
in line. You noticed
That's
how
right. Give them.
when all professional sporting was shut down, people had nothing better to do but to riot. But now the NFL is back, and everyone is just yelling at their TV instead of burning down stores. You get them drunk. You create a culture of I'm going to go make some wings and nachos, sit down and watch the game. It channels all of our revolutionary spirit towards hoping the Patriots win. And for anyone listening who's not a Patriots fan, you're wrong. You should be. As long as you're not a Bucks fan.
True. It broke my heart.
No,
Absolute heartbreaker there.
but it's bread and circus is all it is. I mean, it seems like the really
Hmm.
big things stay in the news for minutes or days. In the not nothing, but the less significant stories stay on for weeks. Afghanistan was what 5-6 days in the news.
I would say it was for a solid couple weeks because people were
Okay,
going off about it on Twitter. People wanted
yeah,
responses.
but now we're going on a month on the Gabby Petito case. I mean, that's an
Hmm.
important case, and I'm heartbroken, and I want Brian Laundrie to be. I want to see Dog the Bounty Hunter dragging him out by his bald little head.
Yeah.
But to me, I think that the debacle in Afghanistan is more impactful to the whole world than what's happening with Gabby Petito. And I don't know what's going on in Afghanistan anymore. Is the Taliban still running the show over there? Is China still like
Yeah.
allies with them? Like, what's happening?
There's actually some talks of demilitarized negotiation between the U.S. and the Taliban in the coming weeks,
But I
which
don't
to
trust.
me just says, all right, now we negotiate with terrorists. Awesome.
Well, how about General Milley completely going rogue when he called China? Remember that?
Yes, I remember seeing that.
He called China and said that we will not attack you, and if Donald Trump does, I will call you with a warning. And then he also told everyone to disregard any orders he gets from the president.
Yeah,
They
that's
accused
straight up
Republican,
treason.
and Nancy Pelosi called the Pentagon and also said, "Don't listen to the president." I, you know what? I might be retarded, but isn't that a military coup?
Yeah, that's straight up more of a coup than January 6th.
Well, January 6th, if you watch the videos, you can see the cops like, "Okay, let's go, come on," waving them in, and you can see a
Yeah.
lot of people tell like, "What? Stop! Like, where's your backup? Stop this!" And they let them in. And you see that video that went viral of the horn helmet guy who looked like Braveheart on Nancy Pelosi's desk, just yelling, and then he walks by Biden wearing a Capitol Police uniform on TV.
Did he actually?
Yeah, well, not confirmed, but it looked just like him. I mean, that
Yeah,
you
people
notice
can
that.
look really similar, especially when
Well,
like all dressed up in garb. So I wouldn't call that case closed.
no, but there was known Antifa members in there, and it was
Oh,
that.
a lot of people were there. A lot of people were upset with how in the middle of the night Joe Biden got enough votes to win. And
Well,
then not
remember
just
how
people
it
on
takes.
the right, but people on the
Well,
left are also saying, "Hey, this is BS. Like we want to win fair and
yeah.
square."
Well, remember how it takes one senator and two congressmen to object to have a contested election?
Hmm.
You think it's coincidence that Ted Cruz and a couple other Republicans objected, and they were about to formally object when the protesters entered the Capitol building, almost to the second?
Yeah.
And then they all get rushed out underground, and the next thing we hear is, "Yep, they ratified the vote. No one objected."
Yeah,
What?
and then if you say
What?
anything trying to go with the right in this situation, you're then equated to people who want to go in and kill every Congress member and
So what the fuck happened between a bunch of Republicans objecting to everyone voting yes in those few hours? Like, what was said to them? Where did they go? They went. I know they went into the
well,
tunnels
they were
underneath the Capitol
probably
building.
hyped up. They were probably hyped up because of the crowd that went in, and they probably said, "Listen, these people are dangerous. We can't hold them back. They're gonna come in. They're gonna start killing you guys. If y'all vote yes, we'll be able to do something. If you guys vote no, then we're gonna be at a standstill, and we don't know how long we can keep them back." That's just conjecture. I wasn't there or anything, but like that's what
Wait,
I
you
would
weren't?
think.
That's
Maybe.
right.
Who
You
knows?
lost you lost your. I think you were there. Next thing you know, FBI kicks your door in.
Yeah, the FBI kicks in my door.
But let the record note: Drew was not there.
I was not there. I was at work that day. I remember going on
Uh,
my lunch break going, "Oh my goodness, what's going on?"
it was, and they say that no one's ever done that before. But the Black Panthers occupied the halls of the Congressional Building with AK-47s once. But I guess we
Hmm.
don't talk about that anymore. Is that not a thing? They're also rewriting history. Like that's.
Yeah. Hey, who controls the past controls the present, and by extension, the future.
Yeah, they're really rewriting history here, and that whole day was bogus. I mean, you can see the the violent protesters walking inside of the rope lanes laid out for them, and like picking up trash and like not straying from the designated walkways.
Yeah, it was a designated. It was a glorified self-guiding tour.
They were just
Like
they were
everyone was just way too hyped. If like cops showed up and
all
said,
of the
"Hey, everybody, calm down. I understand, but like whatever." Like it's there because there was no authority there because they wanted it to get out of control.
and you see the videos of them tear gassing the crowd. The crowd outside was legitimately just standing there.
Yeah.
They were just standing there, and
Owner of the VOP network, good friend of mine, Dan Simiglio, he was there. He didn't go in the building. He knew not to, but he was there
but
with a bunch of people. He was saying you could see the feds all over the place, and he goes, "I don't know, like what? This is obvious what this is."
and you see, they're saying Joe Biden incited violence. Donald Trump incited violence. I watched his entire speech, every second of it, and at no point did he incite violence at all.
Didn't he say specifically to make sure we keep ourselves classy, keep ourselves calm,
Yeah, he
and
said,
like
"I
don't
want you."
do
He goes,
that?
he had people lined up past the Washington Monument, and he said, "I want you guys to march down to the Capitol and make our voices known. be respectful, but be loud and make sure they know you're there, but please keep it peaceful. He said it verbatim, keep it peaceful. I
That's
completely
not what
believe
someone launching a coup would say.
well, the coup was when they told the Pentagon to ignore any commands issued by Donald Trump. That's a legitimate coup. Milley and Nancy Pelosi doing that, but they have they have such a stranglehold on power. It's baffling.
Oh yeah, it's the people that hold power in little positions that aren't the figureheads are the ones that really pull the strings.
Well, you see that what's her name? Jen Psaki, circle back girl.
Oh yes, White House press secretary.
Yeah, we'll circle back. She was asked. John Kerry said that Joe Biden had no idea that we changed the deal on nuclear subs to give them to Australia. So John Kerry said he talked to the president. The president had no idea it happened. Not a clue. And Jen Psaki said, no, the president knew. So who's lying here? Did the president? And the reporter asked, the reporter straight up asked, who's making decisions and who's making these decisions and pulling the strings if the president didn't know? And it's bad when the mainstream media is starting to ask these questions because it's just conditioning us when we find out he's not making decisions.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that he's essentially a figurehead at this point. I don't think he's making any mainline decisions
You hear what
other
Alex
than
Jones
maybe
said
just
recently?
menial stuff.
You hear what Alex Jones said recently?
No, what?
He said that he has it on a good authority from a Secret Service agent that Joe Biden shits himself in the White House and will not wear diapers.
See, I wouldn't go as far to say that because that's just like playground insults and bullying.
But that's what Alex
But
Jones said.
yeah, but I am in the
He's been
school of thought that I feel like Joe Biden's not mentally there to be president of the United States.
my grandfather, my grandmother and my father both have Alzheimer's, and I know what dementia looks like when I see it. And that man has not. It's elder abuse.
He's just because he's been in the game so long and he's recognizable. To quote Trump on the campaign trail, he said this once at a debate: "If Joe Biden had all the answers, how come he didn't do it 60 years ago?" He's been in.
I'm gonna quote
he's been in the game for this long.
Well, I have a prolific quote from Joe Biden here. If you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. So.
That's right. Yeah, and see, that goes back to what we said earlier about the powers that be wanting to separate us because when you have two groups of people, us and them's, angry at each other and pointing at each other, they're not going to point at who's really doing everyone harm.
I mean, they called Donald Trump racist for when he said to the black community, when he said, they look at your cities, they have done nothing for you. What the hell do you have to lose voting for me? They haven't helped you. I will. What the hell do you have to lose? They called him racist for that, but straight up saying that if you don't vote for me, you ain't black isn't. Did I miss something?
Yeah. No,
there's another quote from Joe Biden from a congressional hearing when he wanted to pass the Biden crime bill that I really could not say on here. Like I can't say it. I could say.
Give us a censored version.
He said a censored version. You guys can look this up, listening at home, and Drew can look it up. He goes, we already have an African American governor. We don't need an African American mayor too, but he used a much harsher word to describe their skin color. And he also said that young black men are super predators and they're coming for our wives and our daughters. We got to get them off the streets. For when he passed the Biden crime bill, which what's mostly responsible for the mass incarceration of minorities in the U.S.
And to double whammy it, Kamala Harris was spear running a bunch of drug-related offensives for a drug that's now legal in a lot of states.
Yep,
and laughing about it as people were out behind bars.
Pot? Have you ever smoked pot? And she laughed. Of course I have.
Yeah,
we did it, Joe. You see that she
hypocrite, power hungry, and see.
You see, she hid DNA evidence that would have exonerated an innocent man to keep her 100% prosecution record.
Unreal. Like at that point, wouldn't you want justice? It shows that that person doesn't want justice. Kamala Harris does not
No.
want justice. She wants
Well, you know how
power
she
and
got her first
authority, and those
job?
are the people that are in power right now.
You know how she got her
I'm
first
not.
big job? She had an
I'm sorry.
affair. She had an affair with a powerful individual, and then that's how she got her first for her first big job.
I remember hearing that because I think didn't Tulsi Gabbard bring that up at a debate
Yeah, she said,
to jab at
yeah,
her with that. Now, if
yeah.
Tulsi Gabbard was vice president, I wouldn't be ecstatic about President Biden, but I would be okay with Vice President Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah. I mean,
Because before someone comes down on us and say we're racist and we hate women in power, that's not the
so
case at all.
for anyone
I
who
don't like these
says
people
that,
in power.
for anyone who says that, I would vote for Candace Owens over Donald Trump or any other Republican, and she's a black woman, and she has my vote if she ever wants to run. I won't even like. I'm just putting my vote now. I'm just gonna take my ballot, put it up there. When she runs, it automatically votes for her. She's an amazing woman, and she's been called racist, and she's a black woman,
Yeah.
so I'm not quite sure how that works, but
Yeah.
it's not
Their
about a
own
woman
thing.
in power. I told my girlfriend that if Hillary Clinton was the first female president, I would feel very bad for my future daughters.
Yeah, exactly. I want
A very
I
strong woman. I want
I
a
don't
very
care who gets in there by the virtue of checking boxes on a diversity quota. I care who gets up there based on leadership, based on being someone who cares about the country, based on people who understand and have humility, are willing to bring in experts to help them out and to be able to be strong, decisive leaders. That doesn't come with a gender, that doesn't come with a political party. And a lot
no.
of people are too
I
busy
don't.
to divide themselves and put themselves in camps. They won't root for someone with common sense because they're scared of being labeled as like Nazi terrorist, like all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm a Republican, but I would vote for a very strong Democratic candidate over Donald Trump in 2024. I vote for the person, not the party. And
Mm-hmm.
it, can we both agree the quality of our president has gone down dramatically?
I would say so.
I mean,
I feel like
I like
I don't know.
Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's no
Yeah,
FDR or Ike or Reagan. You know, it started going down
right.
after Bush Senior. It really started going down. Even with Bush, he was the first. Like he was the head of the CIA. He was the first. He was the first. Like really, like
Mm-hmm.
you got to think what this guy's doing, kind of president. I mean, we had guys like JFK. You know, everyone loved that man. We had some great presidents.
I am all for Frankensteining Teddy Roosevelt back to life and putting him in office, or
As long as he
the
can have,
Futurama like heads in the jars
yeah.
thing.
Oh, but we'll have Nixon again then.
Give
Give him another chance. Free Nixon, free my boy Nixon. He didn't do shit.
Yeah, no, I would definitely, and I feel
I'm
like a lot
okay
of
with that.
people.
I'm okay with taking FDR back as long as we can give him JFK's prestigious member.
Wasn't that Lyndon B.
JFK.
Johnson?
Oh, LBJ loved his known. He loved that thing. He named
You were
it
telling me the
Jumbo,
other
and
day about that.
he would call his tailor and tell him I want you to leave some extra room for Jumbo in the crotch, and he would love that thing. I mean, I wish I was that confident. Jesus. I mean, JFK
Walk around.
was a prestigious member in Congress, and he also had a prestigious member. I mean, he got Marilyn Monroe in the sheets. He told Jackie Kennedy that he has to have sex constantly or his back will hurt too bad, and that's why he had 2 prostitutes a night brought to his room in Italy. The man was a dog.
Do you think that so with the whole Hunter Biden thing? Because I don't know if you were following the Hunter Biden
I
scandal
got I got
before
I
the
got banned from
election.
Facebook for sharing
Yeah,
it before it
I
came out.
tried sharing some of those pictures in a Facebook group chat, and
It
it would
wasn't
delete
even
them
that.
as I sent them. I had
I
no
I
option to send it. Do
I
you think
tried
that
to
a
share.
sexual
I
do you
tried to
think that a sexual
I
sorry,
I tried to share the Burisma corruption case and got banned. And they said it was fake news, and then CNN The day after the election, breaking news: Hunter Biden indicted in criminal probe. I'm like, oh, if only Donald Trump was saying that for 8 months or something. Imagine,
Yeah.
oh crap.
Do you think that a sexual controversy involving a current member of the cabinet or one of our executives would either A, hit mainstream media, or B, be enough to get serious inquiries of impeachment going through?
Absolutely not. I don't. One, Joe Biden. There's not enough Viagra in the world for that.
There's enough adrenochrome, probably.
And I don't think that sniffing counts as sexual assault.
I mean, I don't know, like, especially against kids, to the point where, like, he's invading
during
their
the
personal
election.
space. That's like,
Yeah, during the election, I would run up to my girlfriend and I would sniff her, and she would get so mad at me. I'd walk up to her and she, could you stop doing that? Every four or 5 times a day. It was awesome. You guys should try it sometime. Give him a sniff. It was good enough for Uncle Joe. It's good enough for me.
that's right. Get some kids to play with your leg hair
I'm gonna
in
be
the
on
pool.
I'm gonna be on some Predator watch list in the morning. I can feel it.
Gonna wake up, you're gonna drive too close to a elementary school, and your car is gonna beep.
Well, another thing, Hunter Biden married his dead brother's widow.
I remember that. Yep.
That's and the girl they found on her laptop of him like doing coke with is his niece. You see that?
It wasn't there, and I don't like to spread.
No, not confirmed, but the birthmark on her butt matches the birthmark on the butt of Hunter Biden's niece. So you can find on her Instagram, find the bikini picture, zoom into the left cheek, you'll see a little birthmark that's also in the picture of Hunter Biden's.
I was gonna say, Zach, I didn't realize you had a collection of political figures' relatives' butts.
I'm like Herbert Hoover. I have a huge collection of porn. The theory is that Herbert Hoover was closeted gay. That's why he had so much porn collected.
I have not heard that rumor, no.
Yeah, it's just some political slander, but you want to tell me which U.S. president went to Poland and said, I'm here to fuck and I'm not leaving until I do?
I believe that was Jimmy Carter.
So Jimmy Carter sexually assaulted an entire nation.
It was a mistranslation. He didn't actually mean it.
No, I think he was there to fuck.
For those who don't know, I'm just going to make sure it's the right president before I start listing off names, because we did talk about this earlier that week. The Jimmy Carter, Ukraine.
Oh, I thought it was Poland.
Oh, no, it was Poland. People are going to hate me, but I confuse those all the time.
How?
I don't know.
Drew,
they're completely different.
Can you pee in this cup for me?
So it was Jimmy Carter. He during 1977 he went over to Poland, and he said in their language, he meant to say, I'm here to accomplish what I'm here to accomplish, and I'm not leaving until it's done. And the way it translated was, I'm here to have sex and I'm not leaving.
That's how I sounded going to Bridgewater State.
Just imagine if Russia showed up, or like Chinese diplomat showed up, and they get on in front of all TVs. I am here to have sex and I am going nowhere. And then waving away like everyone's.
Vladimir Putin.
He's so funny.
Vladimir Putin rolling in, still wearing Robert Kraft's Super Bowl ring that he stole from him, and says, "I'm here to fuck it. I'm not leaving."
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah, Robert, the owner of the Patriots,
Super Bowl ring from the Pats of all places.
The owner of the Patriots
all teams
went to visit the Kremlin for. I don't know why. I guess when you win the Super Bowl, you visit the White House and the Kremlin or something. I have no idea why he was there, but
diplomatic, whatever. Hey, this is what we do.
Yeah, he went in, and Putin goes, "Hey, can I see your Super Bowl ring?" And Robert Kraft goes, "Yeah, absolutely, Mr. President." He looks at it. Mr. Vladimir Putin looks at it, puts it in his pocket, and leaves.
I remember that. And then, like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna yell after the guy.
What do you do? Oh yeah, I mean that's like a $50,000 ring. I mean,
oh yeah,
wow. Do we know if that was actually a gift or if he just actually stole it?
I mean, he could have misinterpreted it, but I don't think
it
it doesn't really matter to him.
Yeah, but Robert Kraft might have brought him a ring like as a gift. Can you look that up? Because I want to know if that was a gift or if he actually just stole his ring and just walked off with it. Because if he did,
No, I think
that's
he just walked off with it.
that's amazing.
He just looked at it and went, "Huh, this is nice," and then just left. Because like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna stop him.
You see the picture
Like,
of the pigeon saluting Vladimir Putin?
I have not seen that one. That's
He
a funny
walks by,
picture.
the pigeon brings its wing up and salutes him, and he walks off.
Now that's a strong leader.
Oh
Biden needs
yeah,
to have squirrels in the front yard of the White House saluting him.
steals the Super Bowl ring. Jimmy Carter's blunder is a lot worse than JFK yelling that he's a jelly donut in Berlin.
I mean, I still think that's funny. That would definitely be like something that would be top shelf news if Joe Biden walked into Germany and said, "I'm a jelly donut."
Joe Biden publicly declares he's a baguette.
Publicly declares he is a duck confit within a pastry.
He comes out in the pastry costume the next day. My fellow Americans, I'm tasty and creamy.
Ew.
Please enjoy my delicious filling.
Ew.
Joe Biden's here to give his creamy filling to all our daughters tonight.
All right, no, I don't want to. That's not what the show's about.
It is now. Welcome to the zoo, baby. Oh, good old JFK.
Oh my goodness, Zach.
If anything,
What about JFK?
He'd be like a salon. He'd be like a zucchini. He's not for some reason, I get zucchinis and kielbasa confused.
Kielbasa? Kielbasa's like.
No, but I get.
Wait, what are you confusing it with?
I get zucchini and kielbasa confused for some reason. Like my girlfriend goes, "I got you a zucchini muffin," and I go, "Why on earth would I want that?" Because I was picturing kielbasa ground up in a muffin, and I was like sickened by it.
I would eat kielbasa in a muffin.
No, that is you disgust me. But
It's a sausage.
I always get them mixed up. I always get it confused. Like
a sausage and like a cornbread muffin sounds delicious.
No, but if someone says zucchini, I'll picture kielbasa. I have no. I get them confused. And maybe I'm not the best person to have on this show if I don't know my meats from my vegetables. But I get them confused.
Interesting. I mean, I don't know.
So we are wildly off topic now.
It's okay. That's the whole point. It's just us hanging out, talking about whatever. We love the comments. We love people talking to us.
All because.
Actually, speaking of what we were talking about earlier, you know how we were talking about Paris with protests?
Yeah.
This past week, thousands march in Rome to protest the vaccine rule in Italy. They're protesting against the Green Pass, it's called.
That reminds me.
Do you think that we in America will ever get to that point?
Absolutely, and that reminds me of, first off, the only 4 people that I know that have had COVID in the last 3 months were all vaccinated, and they say breakthrough cases are rare.
Hey Zach, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Just my internet connection is a little unstable right now.
So the only 4 people I know who have had COVID in the last 3 months all are vaccinated, and they say breakthrough cases are rare. Israel has almost 80% vaccination rate, and they're now starting their first round of boosters, and have like the highest transmission rate in the world. I'm not saying I'm not a doctor.
Do you think?
I think the vaccine is ineffective, and the vaccine that doesn't work properly promotes rapid evolution or mutation.
Right, rapid mutation to those
in the virus that makes it more effective and more deadly. And all the vaccinated people are the ones who are creating the variants, because the regular strain needs to mutate to be able to survive inside of the vaccinated hosts, which puts unvaccinated people at a greater risk because this new. It's the same thing with like super gonorrhea is a thing because they're adapting to the antibiotics, and you know about super gonorrhea.
I've heard of it. Let me just give you a devil's advocate with that though. Then say like they scientifically come out and they say, yeah, the vaccinated people are the ones creating the variation, then wouldn't that just be more reason for the yearly COVID booster shot to keep with the new variations? Hey,
Yeah,
Zach, I'm just
I
gonna go mess with my router really quick because I'm getting
sure.
spotty connection. I'll be right back. Just avoid dead air,
Drew,
okay?
I hate to cut off, but it's getting late. I lost track of time,
Oh,
so
okay.
I think if it's okay with you, I'm gonna call it wraps tonight. But I hope to be back on soon. Sorry, I ended
Okay,
so
sure
abruptly.
thing.
I just happened to look at the clock and I realized it's 11,
No worries, my
almost
man. Hopefully you can come
11:40.
by and pull off a full show soon. Loved having
Oh,
you on.
definitely. It was awesome. A lot of fun. I hope to be on soon.
Awesome. That'd be great.
Once I move
Good
into
luck
the
with
new house,
everything.
yeah, hopefully we're
Yeah.
moving in this week, this upcoming
Awesome.
week. As if they don't pull my loan at the last second, which would be very,
Mhm.
very tragic.
Yeah.
Because I'm
Well,
already packed up.
yeah. Hey, well,
Yeah,
good luck in all that. Good luck in everything. I'll talk to you throughout the week. Thanks for coming on by. I really appreciate it, my
definitely.
man.
Thanks for having me, Drew.
Of course. No problem, Zach. You have a great night.
Have a good one.
Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zach Little, personal good friend of mine and someone who I definitely very much appreciate. Unverified user, thank you for the 10-cent one award. Very much appreciate any contributions toward the VOP and through the political zoo. Patreon is on its way for anyone who wants to support me and support everything we're doing here, especially with the VOP. So we are currently down a member, and I don't think I thought he was going to be here the most of the show, or at least I could trick him to being on most of the show. So without my guest, I am going to call it a night. Thank you for everyone coming by the Political Zoo today on this wonderful Saturday in October. Keep questioning everything. Keep thinking. Keep doing your own research. Thanks for coming by the zoo. Good night, everybody. Thank you.